And a very, very warm, I say the word warm because a lot of you are cold today if you're watching us live, but a warm welcome from the Tampa Bay area. I am Mike Blinder. I am the publisher of Editor and Publisher Magazine, and it's my honor and pleasure to welcome you to this, another one of our E&P Report sponsored webinars brought to you by the fine people at Modulist. Before we get there, little quick housekeeping. You are on a platform called Zoom. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know what Zoom is now. We're all using it. Everyone's using it. It's a very popular platform, but you're not on Zoom Meeting, which is likely the platform that you're using day to day in your business and your interactions. You're on Zoom Webinar, which means I have control over a lot of stuff here, including your ability to turn on your microphone, which I can't because we've had over 150 register for today. Then it would turn into a kegger if you're all jumping in and out and turning on your video. Ergo, our auspicious panel and yours truly and some other support people from Modulist will be monitoring the chat room. We will be ignoring the raise hand at the bottom of your screen and ignoring the Q&A. We're going to keep our eyes on a lively chat today, and we invite our entire audience to please pose questions, challenge us, make your own comments, put up links or what have you in our chat room. But keep in mind, on Zoom webinar, for some reason, they always default the chat room to panelist only. So I urge you, so we're all participating in our chat together, that you go in there and change that panelist, if you don't mind, to panelists and attendees. When you make any comments whatsoever, that way we can all join in together. Now, with that being said, let me introduce our fine panel today. Letty, welcome. How are you doing today? Turn on your mic, Letty. Are you with us? You're nodding your head. Can you hear me, Letty?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Thank you. Letty, you're a publisher of the Black Hills Pioneer. Tell us a little bit about the Black Hills Pioneer. Where are you exactly? How big is your staff? How big is the market? All that and more real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure. The Black Hills Pioneer is a daily newspaper in western South Dakota, in the Black Hills. It was established in 1876. It is the oldest continuous operating business in Western Dakota Territory. We do still publish 6 days a week. We cover the counties of Lawrence, Meade, and Butte counties with several small town entities. We are based out of Spearfish, South Dakota. We still boast a heavily staffed newsroom of 10 reporters, and then we have 3 stringers. And have a full ad staff. And we are also a printing hub, not only for our own products, but for several newspapers in Wyoming and Western South Dakota for other publishers. So we're a busy operation.
I'm very impressed. Did you say a newsroom of 10? You were employing 10 full-time in your newsroom, plus stringers. Very impressive. And this is Black Hills in Montana, correct? We're discussing
South Dakota.
South Dakota, excuse me. Okay,
yeah,
great.
That's okay. We're right up next to the Wyoming border, and we're only about 25 miles from Montana. So.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. Alicia, welcome. You're part of Forum Communications, am I correct? And you are kind of head of operations for all of their newspapers. You're based in what city right now?
In Fargo.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about your operation, your job duties, if you don't mind.
All right. Yeah. So I am the manager of integrated media operations production for Forum Communications. We call ourselves IMOP, but we don't do any janitorial work. I oversee 2 departments for IMOP, our pod production operations department, which is the team that chooses and budgets all the content for all of our papers. We've got about 24 papers. A little less than half of those are dailies. And then also oversee our design hub. So all of our entire team that designs every one of our papers runs through me as well. And I am excited to be here because I am weirdly in love with obituaries. Writing obituaries was my first job when I started here. It'll be 20 years ago in a couple months.
That's in love with obituaries. I have been a big advocate of this space for a long time. I hosted a panel, some of you may know that, at a conference just last year on this very topic, because I've been a proponent for decades that this is content. This is not just an advert. Yeah, I love making money. I'm not a communist, but this is very, very strong I mean, Devlyn, I see you laughing, but you got to agree with me. You have ink in your veins. You've been in this industry as long as me. I know I'm a bit older than you, sir, and not as good looking, but you are the founder of Modulist, obviously, but you know that you're constantly looking at this as content that may be going away from our industry in time, right? We've got to fight to keep it as part of under our own mastheads. Am I saying that right, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Strangely enough, we are in a situation where we're kind of placed between families and our publications, right? But in between that, oftentimes we have a third party, a funeral home somewhere that is working with families, and there are many forces that are trying to convince families that just placing the obit on a funeral home website and then sharing out via social media is enough. And the message that we have to continually tell our reading audience is that isn't enough. It doesn't reach the entire community, and it doesn't record it for history's sake. 20 years from now, people aren't going back to the funeral homes to look for those obits. They're coming to our community publications to look for those obits.
I know we have a little bit of an agenda here that we put together, but I'm going to break it for a moment because I'd like to introduce April for a second. April, you and Devlyn are part of this company called Modulist. Why don't you give us a quick background? Give me the elevator pitch. Let's stay with you, Devlyn, if you don't mind, since we're such good old friends. What is the history of the company, and what would you say your primary function is as a benefit to this industry, sir, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah. So we're really proud of our history. Everyone on our staff is somebody that came from a newspaper company. We have the luxury of saying that we're newspaper people that were born of a newspaper company. All of us worked for, at one point, can't run from it, right? This is our legacy. We used to work for Forum Communications. We were an internal unit that was born in Forum Communications about 10 years ago, and we were asked to solve the issue of how to better coordinate, process, and collect the revenue for about 30 newspapers at the time who were all doing obits in a different way. And so we took that on. And at the time, we kind of hijacked an advertising system that did online classifieds. We kind of broke into the code and made it do what we wanted it to do, so we could manipulate and offer funeral homes an online portal to submit obits. Over the years, we got really good at what we did. We ended up doing that service for all of Forum Communications properties. And then at the time, we said, well, why don't we look at other paid content, milestones, engagements, weddings, those types of things, business announcements, classifieds. And so over the course of the next several years, we started expanding to those paid verticals for all of those newspapers. And then in 2017, I went to the board of Forum Communications, which is a family-owned newspaper operation headquartered out of Fargo, North Dakota. They're in their 5th generation, about to be on to their 6th generation. And I sat down with the board and said, I think we can build a better mousetrap. And so they invested in us. And in 2017, we started developing the platform, which is now called Modulist. And about a year and a half later, we started selling externally. And now we have wonderful clients such as Letty and clients all throughout the U.S. that we process on behalf of them. We do their obits, their milestones, a number of other paid content categories as well.
Let's swing it back to Letty. All right, Letty, what were you doing before you decided to use this new tool, and what are you doing now? Why don't you give us the background? How important, first of all, is this vertical for you, and what were you doing before, and why did you decide to make some changes?
Well, we were working harder, not smarter. And so we were doing the most labor intensive way we could possibly do it. We had one funeral home that did a lot of business with us, several that tried to get by with just doing the free announcements with us. And we were getting them by email, and then we would have to hand them off to one of our editors to edit them, and then get them ready to format and place onto our news page. If people wanted photos or things like that, then it was a matter of getting somebody to either email it to us or to scan them. So it worked, but it was not very efficient. So when I came across Devlyn's offerings with Modulist, and it was so easy, just the first time I talked to him, just because of what he said right there. They're newspaper people. They totally understand that we aren't always the most efficient, but what we're doing is extremely important. And I even really felt like we were missing too many obituaries that we should have been getting. So when he explained to me how Modulist worked, it was just really straightforward and made lots of sense. And so this made it so that people were able to submit online themselves. If their funeral home didn't want to, quote, bother with placing an obit with us, they could come do it themselves. It's easier for the funeral homes, though, as well. And it just made a little more consistency with what we were doing. And the fact that they go through and verify that this is an actual legitimate obituary, that they go through and edit it and make sure that it's stylized properly, and they just handle everything. So even if we get a phone call into our office or an email request, we just hand them the link to the button that's on our website that puts them right into Modulist, and it's just taken care of. And we don't get any calls back where people are saying, hey, this didn't work, or I'm confused, or I struggled with it. It's really very, very user-friendly. That's why it was an easy sell. I went, oh, wow, okay. Why would we not do it? I think is what I said to Devlyn. Well, why would we not do this?
Now, who's your customer? Sometimes these are placed, correct me if I'm wrong, by individuals or families, and sometimes these are placed by funeral homes, correct?
Yes.
And you've got to like kind of make sure that these customers are getting the support they need and the love they need at a very difficult time.
Right.
Have you, and you said you're not getting any problems with this, but have you gone to funeral homes? Have you done outreach in your community to show them how this works and how easy this is going to be for them? And how has this all come together so you can get everybody all into this one interface?
Yes. So, and we have done that. And we had done that periodically over the years, just always kind of reached out to some of these funeral homes that weren't utilizing our paper. They were going with the bigger paper down the road, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So we're getting a lot of notices that we wouldn't have gotten before. And I went back and looked at the numbers, and we started in June of 21. And our obituary revenue is up 48% over the previous year, which would have been 2020. But 2020 was a big year for us as well, because with people not being able to have in-person funeral services, we saw a large spike in obituaries anyway, and they were longer obituaries. So 2020 was a record year for us revenue wise as it was. And then 2021, like I said, just using it for a little over 6 months, we saw a 48% revenue increase.
This is amazing because not only is it good content, correct, you're also obviously generating revenue, but as far as site traffic goes, how popular are these pages on your website?
Oh, well, yeah, they're always, very popular. They're always shared. People will come on there, and what we find is they stay on our site longer too. They may come in for one specific obituary, but I think curiosity gets to them and they kind of start thumbing through more and more. So it's absolutely one of the most trafficked pages on our website.
I think that's fascinating also, if I may be so bold, and this is something that I want to share right now from my screen. And I think I'd like to have April kind of come in, or or Devlyn, there is more time spent on obit than there is on a news story, Devlyn? Is that kind of what you're seeing across some of these networks?
Yeah, I'm going to let April talk. This is her wheelhouse. She is the one that covers all the data analytics for us, but she's the one that has all this info.
And April, please take over.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, I'm April Knutson. So my background is I spent about 5.5 years in the newsroom working on websites and managing traffic and analytics and that kind of stuff. I found when it came to Modulist, I got really excited about obituaries because I learned that over all the FCC websites, so that's about 27 websites, the obituary sections always ranked in the top 10 daily. And then they always had a monthly average of a higher and average engage time than just a normal story. So that showed to me that obituaries can be a way for readers to act as discovery funnels to what we would call premium content, and a way for reporters to use obituaries to build up their stories. And you just saw that on the last slide, that on average, I think now it's gone down a little bit, forum.com, North Dakota's largest news sites, the average time spent, engaged time on obituaries is 48 seconds now, as of December 2021. So it's went down a little bit, but it's still pretty good because the overall site average is around 18 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're basically almost quadruple. Also, what I find fascinating is that they're very SEO friendly. Can you explain that to us as well? What does that mean? I mean, I know SEO is important to a newspaper, but how come obits just are great for getting found on the internet?
Well, first of all, readers, since they are placing it to honor their loved ones, they're always going to include accurate information. So that means that, the full name, their dates of birth and death, all their accomplishments, maybe links to their various organizations they were a part of. This all is what they put in. And so we as reporters or frontline workers don't have to do that work of fact checking anything. Right. Also, if you use an order platform like Modulist, there's automated must fill input boxes. So again, it automates all of that, and then it'll link back to their various organizations or business sites that will create more pathways to your news site. And then also the last two, the freshness, because usually an obituary purchaser will place it, within a week of their death. Then it will link back to maybe the funeral home websites, and then the date will always be kind of near their death date. So it's a various factors, but the biggest thing is that it's always accurate information connecting to other sites.
And this discovery is mind-boggling. The fact that it creates new readers, which as any publisher knows, is one of the hardest things you need. You got to build that audience. Let me ask a question. Are obits still free on most paywalled environments now, or are people putting it behind the paywalls, or is it a little mixture of both, April?
I found that it's a mixture of both. Some news sites that are larger maybe do a metered model, which means that it is part of the other content about getting a certain number of articles or pieces of content free before they hit that hard paywall. Some of them choose just because maybe if they are switching to a paid obituary model, they want to leave that section free for a while as a way to just do a discovery model until the customer/reader gets comfortable with the idea of paying for the obituary and having that spread out farther into the community so that they're more of their neighbors, friends, the person who went to high school can see that loved one or that person's story online. So it's kind of up to the publication on where they are on their subscription-based model.
All right, cool. All right, let's get into Alicia's world here. Alicia, you manage you said you have a love for obituaries and you're all in for obituaries, but you're pretty much managing this across multiple platforms, correct? I mean, we're talking, Forum is not a small company by any stretch of the imagination, and you've got a whole mess of different sites, markets, local people you have to deal with. This DIY, getting it implemented, a DIY, do-it-yourself environment. Was there any pushback in some of the local markets? Were people scared this could like make them lose their jobs or anything like that? Did you have to kind of go ahead?
I don't think they were scared so much about losing their jobs as much as they were just a little bit hesitant, to let an outside company do it. As I found, as we've centralized other things, there's always people at the local site that are a little bit nervous about letting that go. Even though that means more time to focus on other priorities, they worry. But our transition to Modulist went so well and so smoothly that after we got the first few papers in, those editors told the other editors, "Don't worry about it; they've got it."
All right. And this platform is not just providing you obits now, you're doing something called milestones. Am I right? What precisely is milestones?
Yep.
And
So,
why is this important in the markets? Go ahead.
Yep. We do our traditional obituaries, and then milestones, or some of our papers call them celebrations, are wedding announcements, engagements, anniversaries, birthdays, thank yous, new babies. They're really, community announcements of things that are really personal to people and that they're sharing. As we move forward into what the future of our local newspapers look like, a lot of what people are looking for is that hyper-local stuff, information about the people in their community. And this provides that. This says, hey, there's babies, anniversaries, all those things. And people really love those things and having them.
I'm working with a bunch of different media companies now, still doing some consulting. And I find it fascinating that how media companies don't understand how important these faces are. I don't know if you agree or disagree with. I mean, there's a reason why Facebook, good or bad, right or wrong, love them or hate them, is so popular. It's because the word face. And what you've got here, correct me if I'm wrong, we're looking at a screen now of, this is what, Duluth? All these faces, isn't this the kind of fodder that people want on the internet? I mean, and you don't even have to go find them. In the old days, I remember Morris, Morris newspapers long ago. I mean, I know they were sold out, but I remember they used to do this thing where they'd send out a shooter to different events just to get faces, and they'd pass around cards saying, go online and see your picture, go on, because people, this is an automatic way to get this content submitted. I'm surprised there's so much in here in Duluth. I mean, look at all this. People just love submitting this information, right?
Yep. Yeah. And, some of these, as you can see, are business announcements, which is another area that Modulist does. So it's, so-and-so got a promotion, so-and-so won this, award for their industry. And all of that stuff is, again, it's huge for us. People feel more of a connection to their local newspaper when they're flipping through, when they can see those faces. And sometimes it's a face they know, and it's like, oh, Jim got promoted at work. That's great. Oh, looks like, the Smiths had a baby, helps people feel more connected to this paper as something that reflects their life. And,
But think about that. I mean, because the truth is, that's what really makes us hyper local. And I mean, E&P, if I can talk about my world, we went out of, when I first took over the magazine 2.5 years ago, we weren't doing a lot of that. We just weren't. It was like, it was going in other places, and we've invested so much time. I've got this robust news people section with faces all over the place, and they become some of my highest traffic pages because people want to see what other people are up to. April, you're nodding your head on this, and I know you have a background in news publishing and understanding all the nuances of the internet. So, I mean, how would you, and this is easy, right? I mean, this content's coming to you and people are doing it on their own and you make money. I just don't see a downside.
Yeah, well, this comes, I really agree with this just from my experience. Again, in the newsroom and in marketing. Number one, to kind of like what Alicia talked about, is a great way for reporters or frontline workers to kind of create a barrier and save some time for because they get pitched every day, all day about stuff. And sometimes, most of the time nowadays, frontline workers or reporters don't have the time to, hear that pitch or even investigate it. Usually most of the time it's they want their angle in the newspaper. So it's a great way to create revenue, and it's a great way to build that relationship with that business, because they can put it in the paper exactly how they want it, and they can create some notoriety. And then they can also provide content for the news reporter for later on if they want to do a deeper dive in that story. But if they want that promotion in like tomorrow, this is a way that they can do that through an automated system and create revenue for your newspaper.
Well, I was going to swing this back to Devlyn now, because we haven't talked much about the print product, and I'm all in on print. I still publish a monthly magazine. Devlyn, full disclosure, you help us turn our very successful job board now we're doing with Pointer and America's Newspapers. You help us convert our it's all DIY through a vendor, those ads into print. How important is that to your customers, Devlyn? And you guys do it. You're doing this. This same content is print ready. Am I right, Devlyn? You turn this around into a print product too, correct, sir? Oh, I think we lost Devlyn. Are you frozen up on your screen, sir? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he appears frozen, but I can.
Luckily, his eyes are
I
open.
designed
Devlyn, why don't you log off and come back in if you can hear me? I saw your head, Lottie, nodding with that.
No.
I mean, there you are, Devlyn.
Yep.
Address
So-
the issue, if you don't mind, sir. I mean, about this, what do you call it? Web to print? The conversion is so simple and easy.
Yeah, I apologize. Sorry, we're on the back end of a blizzard, so full disclosure, Mike is sitting in 70 degrees. I'm not, so I apologize for the internet connection. It's hugely important. We do have, there was a question in the chat, we do have some publications that are digital only, and we serve those. But still in our local communities, there is, when consumers come onto our platform, they see the print value as something that they can hold on to, right? That gets delivered to the doorsteps of their neighbors and maybe their cousins and their first grade teachers. And there is some kind of tangible value of being able to cut out that obit and save it and put it in a scrapbook, or to, that baby announcement to put it up on the fridge. And if you want to increase circulation, I'm sure Letty would agree to this, local names in the paper is the way to do that.
I have absolutely no doubt. Letty, what are your thoughts on that?
Totally agree. Print first, digital second still. But there isn't a week that goes by that I don't have a subscriber begging us to promise we won't quit printing the paper. So as of right now, I'm in full agreement with them. It's the permanent record keeper. And this is so seamless. Modulist takes care of it on their end digitally. It's right onto our website. They're always on time. They're excellent for deadlines, and we just place it right on the page, on our obituary page, and it runs right out. So very seamless and easy.
We have a really robust chat going on right now, and I'm so glad people are responding back and forth. I wish I could keep my eyes on it more, but I'm so busy coordinating this. But please, by all means, questions, you need links, you want to join the dialogue, get into that chat room, and please join us. Just make sure you submit to panelists as well as all attendees. All right, so let's get into we discussed revenue a lot, and we discussed content a lot. Let's talk about efficiency now, if we may. And I'm going to circle. Let's circle back to the woman who's madly in love with obituaries. Let's get back into Alicia's world. Alicia, your function is to make sure that all this stuff is flowing through all the papers. How more efficient has your life become now that you have this platform doing all this back end for you?
A lot. our old system, obits came in through our regular advertising system, but then we had to go in and make a bunch of corrections, make sure that the photo is text wrapped properly, fix straight quotes, just quotes, all kinds of things like that. And now with Modulist, they send us the number of how many obits we have, so we know for each property, so that we can, count and make sure that, designers don't accidentally make somebody's grandma off the side of the page. And, we just really, what we do is we hit a button in InDesign, we run a script, and then all of our Modulist content for that page drops onto the page. They're all ready to print PDFs that have been toned already to snap standards for our press. So the images look great. The text is all set up perfectly. And then all we have to do is just, the fun part of obits where you just get to play Tetris on the page until you get them all to fit. The time that it takes to do obituaries, I would say was cut probably by about 85% from what it was before Modulist. And when you're talking about, we do 10,000 pages a month, and how many of those pages are obits or milestones or anything, the time savings, the efficiency is huge. It's a big deal.
Letty, let's ask you the same question, if you don't mind. You have a pretty big operation there. You're running, it sounds like a really nice operation in a beautiful part of the world. How was efficiency created through this platform for you? I mean, did it free up some staff so you can have them doing other stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. It freed up our editors. It freed up. We have one person specifically in charge of obituaries, and had a backup to that person in case they got a little bit overrun. So it's kind of like all that work disappeared. The other thing I might add too is on the mechanical setup side of it, through our graphics department, that was super easy to. Modulist makes it very easy to set up however you want your columns to look, your font, things like that. So, and then I thought I might just add, I'm noticing on the chat, there's several people talking about struggling with getting announcements.
That was going to be my next point. Go ahead, please.
And we certainly had that at our paper. I mean, they just flat disappeared. We never charged for them, and they are gone. We don't get wedding announcements, anniversaries, birth announcements. It's very rare to get them, even though we're a small community, small town paper still. It's just, and I would agree with some of the chats that I saw too, that Facebook did that. So that's our next step, is to add all of these other features on, because it's funny, maybe when they have to pay for it, they'll see more of a value to it. And also they'll be prompted when they're on our website. So I just look as an opportunity for us to gain revenue back that is completely gone and is not coming back in the traditional form. So I think having it digital and print, and then they're able to share it onto their social media. So
okay, so let's go back to April now. April, I'm sure you've had a number of calls. That's why I wanted to move on to this topic, where someone says to you, I don't want to do this, or it's all gone. It's never coming back. Is this like a chicken and an egg, self-fulfilling prophecy? We gave up. We're not offering the right platform. We're not promoting it the right way. We're not giving it enough love. So it just kind of went off to the Facebook, Instagram world. I mean, what advice? Okay, do a little role playing for us. You're seeing it in the chat room now. People are saying that business is gone anyway. Can I really win it back? We're hearing that lots of it's coming back. What do you say to these potential customers when you chat with them?
Yeah, what we've experienced, because it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg, like you said, just because there hasn't been resources maybe internally or at your publication to put effort to that section, you haven't been able to take the words or talk to your readers about why maybe it's important, or how they can benefit from placing a milestone celebration ad, whether that be for a business or big wedding. We see a lot of, at our bigger publications that we serve, a lot of retirement parties. People love to do that kind of thing. but they may not have understood what kind of different sections or celebration ads that they can place. Not only that, that's low cost, that's easy to do, and that's it's a way to tell your community about whatever is going on, you know, this week, whether it's a retirement party or graduation party, you know, coming up this weekend. And it's kind of a way to ensure, besides putting it out on Facebook, because we don't negate that people are going to do that anyways, to ensure that other people hear about your big celebration, like your retirement, graduation party, etc. In addition, we have been working on putting together special section options for our publishing partners, so they can do special milestone publication groupings like graduations or Valentine's Day, etc.
In other words, you can do themes or gang pages, the old thing, and you could do special. I love that Valentine's Day idea, you know, post your love on the site and then have it show up on a page that's all decked out. Devlyn, you're nodding your head. You're already preparing for that and pushing that into markets as we speak, I bet.
Yeah, so we do actually just the first of the year, we rolled out a special sections feature. So for instance, we'll take Letty's publication, being she's on. They could come to us and say, Devlyn, we're going to do a special sections for Valentine's Day. You know, we're going to call it the Black Hills Pioneer Valentine's page, right? Creative name. We'll set that up as a special publication under the Black Hills publication. It'll have a parent-child relationship, but they can come in, click on that function specifically. Letty can tell us the templates that they want to use for that publication. You know, maybe they only want to do a 1-column with a photo and then a 2-column. People can come on, do their Valentines, they create them on the site. We then turn around those PDFs and kick them back to her so that her designer can move them straight onto the page, right? And so this is a function that kind of replaces some of those old in-house sales calls, right? You have people sitting at the front desk and you want to do a, you know, Fireman's Safety Week ad page or the Dog of the Month page, those types of things. You know, in the old days, right, we had to have people sit there and make some internal calls or deal with when the consumer said, yeah, I want to do that Valentine's ad. The whole process, they had to take the call, set it up with the designer, you know, all of that. We've removed all of that now so that we can streamline that process, and publications can just do special sections.
And this is a soup. When I go into your interface, it's all taken care of. It's not like the old days. And I still see a lot of news publishers still doing this, where they put a form up thinking that's DIY. Right. And fill out this form and tell us you want to place. You're laughing, Letty, because that's what you used to do up there. I mean, and then someone internally had to look at the form, call them back and do the layout, right? It was just nothing more than a lead capture. That's not what the consumer of today wants. I mean, April, you're nodding your head on this. Am I right? I mean, this is what I've learned, especially with public notices now. You got to do public notices right. And no one wants to be called back anymore. They want to do it at 9 o'clock at night or on a Sunday morning. Am I right, April? This is what we're seeing now.
Yeah, with our operations team, definitely we've seen that the ability for a reader or customer to go online at any time and design their listing by writing it right there, placing the photo, choosing the layout that they want, and see real-time pricing really cuts down on the back and forth. And then it also empowers the reader to figure out what's going to work within their budget, which is also really important these days, as we know, with the chaos of the last 2 years, I guess. And then another thing is that our customers of Modulist really like to use is that they can invite another family member or business partner to collaborate on the listing, whatever it is, through email. And then they can also download a PDF of how it will appear online and in print before they pay. And they can also pay through our system through a variety of ways.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, Letty, you're there in the Black Hills and all that. You have your consumers are using this, right? They're comfortable. It's not like they have to be geeks and nerds in order to do this on their own. They are comfortable doing their own ad building, right? I mean, it's not,
Yes, yes. I mean, I attribute that. That's a big reason for our increase. It's there when they want it. It's convenient and it's simple and straightforward.
there's, and I'm also, Devlyn, I was thinking one of the ways that I love making new content is getting creative on themes. And you're talking about just Valentine's Day. You could have fun around July 4th and do something about, you could have something more solemn around Veterans Day, could you not? I mean, putting up pictures of of those that are served or those that have served in your family. There are so many different ways to go with this. The ideas must be endless when you get into this.
Yeah. So one of my favorite, Mike, is we all remember March 2020, right? When our world kind of all shut down. And there were partner newspapers asking us, what could we do to assist them? And so one of the two of my favorite stories are, we released a category called COVID greetings, where
I love
where people could come on. And remember, in March 2020, we couldn't visit our loved ones in nursing homes or assisted living facilities or hospitals. And so people would come on and write a COVID greeting to their loved one. We can't get to you, but your newspaper is getting delivered to you. And so we had COVID greetings. And then, of course, that year, right, graduations across the country were canceled. And so all of a sudden, people started using our platform to send congratulations for graduates via their newspaper, because it was a way to reach the community that social media just doesn't provide.
I have a feeling that new ideas right now are being, because every town might have a different event or a different thing. My mind is thinking of all the different ways that no offense, I'll be on the phone with you, Devlyn, because I think we have some ideas I'm thinking up for EMP right now, because what we're doing at EMP is trying to be not just, okay, here's how I look at publishing, and maybe I can pontificate for a second. Yes, we're breaking stories. Yes, we're doing investigative reporting. Yes, we're making people think, and our covers are very poignant. But I take the people and the faces just as important. You notice that we've expanded EMP now to 15 over 50. I added that to 10 women to watch. I've added that. We have a new one coming called Shooting Stars. There you go. Spoiler alert, we're going to be saluting photographers and photojournalists. We're going to go back to Editor of the Year, not just published. EMP is to do the Editors of the Year as well. These faces become huge because we don't just put up the face of the winner. We put up, in Operations All-Stars. Every month we salute those that are working in the press room and the operations center. There's a lot of love in that. You see where I'm going? And it gives your publication much more girth.
And what I like about it, Mike, what we've found from consumers, so obviously, full disclosure, there's still a great many funeral homes that use our platform, but the largest growing segment in the obit field is consumers placing their obits for their loved ones. But to your point, what I really love about the system is the consumers then is invested in their ad because they created it. They're coming on to Modulist, they're using the templates there to customize, maybe they want to run 2 photos that are in a 2-column setting, or maybe they're going to use, like for a business announcement, we have templates that accommodate up to 6 or even more mugshots, or a business template that allow you to do a wide horizontal photo over 3 columns with the text wrapping around it. I just find that the consumers are a little more invested in this process because they've created the ad and they've proofed it themselves.
It's a huge part of revenue for a customer of mine and an advertiser of ours at EMP, which is okay, I'm sorry, they may be from the dark side. They're an online only. They're not a print publication, but they're doing exceptionally well. You must probably have heard of them, Devlyn. They're called Tap Into in New Jersey. And their founder and CEO, Mike Shapiro, is a columnist. Every now and then he'll contribute some very interesting content. One of the things he wrote in our January issue was about DIY. and how successful Tap Into has been getting thousands and thousands and thousands of people to go in and submit their own content. And that content is what you just discussed. It's mostly business content. Do you see where I'm going? But businesses want to say, we just won this award. I want to salute my local sales star. I want to, how about the realtor that always wants to say, I just, this guy is our #1 guy this month. You're giving that platform a little bit more girth. And that to me is pretty darn exciting. It's content you don't have. I think that's what April said. It's content you don't have to do. So, and it's coming in automatically.
Yeah, and what's exciting to me is, and this is one of the things that I told Letty on our first conversation was, Mike, I really want to put the power of the newsroom back to the newspapers in the sense that these are things that you likely aren't going to do a story about at all, right? You're not going to do a story about that insurance sales rep that just reached diamond status, but you might cut it down to a couple of paragraphs and then, put it in your business brief section. But all of that takes time. So rather, what I like to be able to do for newspapers is put that function to Modulist so that the person can actually go out and report a business story.
What's wrong with that? To have new content submitted. But let's go back before, because we're getting down to the wire now. We only have about 14 minutes left. And this all started with obits. We're having so much fun because I wanted to get into this discussion about creating new content categories that give the paper back the love of the community. I always say dogs and kids. When I did back pre-COVID, I used to do tons and tons of workshops in local markets, getting advertisers involved in better marketing. And I said, the secret to success in social media is dogs and kids. And everybody laughs, but then I show examples of dogs. And I said, don't show the menu of your restaurant, show a family eating the meal. And everybody goes, duh. And don't show the car, hand the keys to the new car to the proud owners with a dog and a kid. And if they don't have a dog and a kid, rent them. I used to scream but we're all laughing, but that's what makes the love between the publication or the website and the audience. We don't have, Devlyn, correct me if I'm wrong, we're all strapped. E&P is, I have to count every penny.
Yep.
This is essential to get that content back. I'm not just promoting Modulist. We want that content. We desperately need it. And it can all be done for you. And Letty, back to you. You've got such a robust platform going right now. You got to be pretty darn proud of that.
Oh, very much so. And if I'd never had another Associated Press story in my paper, I'd be fine with me. So if I can fill it with local content, no matter what revenue, what avenue, I'm sorry, that comes in at, that's great. All the more reasons to pick up our paper, all the more reasons to get on our website and drive traffic there.
All right, so let's now circle, now that we've discussed all that, and I hope that we got that message across. And Devlyn, don't be offended. I know you're paying the freight for this, but do it with Devlyn or do it on your own, but get this content back. It's critical for our future, because if you want to be called a hyper local for the towns you serve, the people in your town are the local content you need. Am I saying that right, Devlyn? Because you've been in
absolutely no, and you aren't offensive to me at all, Mike. We actually do a lot of even consulting calls with people where they'll call and ask about pricing or what others are doing. We want to be here as a resource, whether you end up signing with us or not. But to your point, to me, this harkens back to the classifieds battle, right? Go back 25 years ago when we started seeing classifieds go to online platforms, and we said, well, nothing will ever come of this, right? I mean, we don't have to worry about this as an industry. I really think that that's kind of the point we're at with this kind of content, Mike. We dipped our toes into this, 20 minutes ago, but this content we've taken for granted for far too long. Our editors, our publishers, we don't write columns on a monthly basis saying how important it is to place your milestones with us or to place your obits with us. We don't do in-house ad campaigns reminding people to place those birthday ads or those retirement ads with us. I think this is one of those points that in the coming year or two, that is our focus at our team, is trying to help our partners publicize the importance of this content, because I don't think we should just cede this battle to social media.
I could not agree more. Again, at ENP, you will see, and this was a big deal, and you will see that every month we're saluting some people. There's always, and that doesn't mean we're not doing the hard news. Our covers are very, very in your face right now, making people think. But I'm still going to be the people magazine of this industry before I'm done. And I'm going to get as many faces from different facets of the news public. And that's what you should be doing in your communities. Damn it. Don't forget that. I mean, there's two sides to this coin. Now, before we leave, let's get back to obits, because that's a little bit different. And oh, I love April because she's nodding her head. She understands where I'm going with this. You have two different customers. You got the family, but you also have the funeral home. And the funeral home has to be made love to as well. That is a customer. And correct me if I'm wrong, April, funeral homes are loving this interface just as much as the families are, correct?
Yeah, they've been an interesting journey because they've become our partners in developing the platform. Like Devlyn said before, we're a fairly new company. We're still in development of features and everything. So they help us to make the platform better for, oops.
Right, for them to use.
Sorry, my screen just went out for a second. Better for us. And they've been able to tell us what they need, and we've developed features for them, like the ability to save a business credit card so that multiple funeral professionals can come in and enter an obituary and still pay with the business credit card. And then they've been able to work at different locations, but still use one business account. Those all different features have really improved their efficiency. And, you know, during 2020 or the last 2 years, when funerals, homes, and funeral home professionals were working in a variety of different locations and help them connect to serve their family and help their family grieve during the process when we all couldn't be together in person.
Okay, so Alicia, you answer to a lot of masters, right? How many newspapers, again, separate operations are you in charge of to make sure that these ads are flowing properly?
2 dozen.
2 dozen. Okay, yeah, 24. Do you find that there are different cultures in these departments where some are not willing to go with a DIY and they still think it's a phone call kind of environment? Do you have to convince them that this is where it's happening? Are you seeing that that you have a adaptation going? I'm getting into it because I'm hearing from some papers we want to adapt and do platforms like this, but there's some person in my call center or internally that's been here for 30 years that refuses to adapt. What do you say to that situation?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there was hesitancy at first, and there were people that, you know, didn't want to do this, but really, once they understood exactly what Modulist was going to do for them, the time savings, you know, the fact that they didn't need to have their front desk person taking obituaries all the time and didn't need to use their ad staff time for it. So their ad staff could be going to get, you know, bigger fish, more money. They didn't need to use newsroom time, all the savings on that. And then also, you know, the efficiency on the design side, so we could adjust deadlines to give funeral homes more time. And just the greater accuracy that we've had since we moved to Modulist. You know, once the papers really understand what the system does for it, it kind of sells itself, because it really just does make things so much easier for everyone on a local level. So, I mean, if I went to our papers right now and said, we're not going to use Modulist anymore, you guys are just going to have to, you know, put your obits together on your own and then we'll put them on, I would have a riot on my hands, you know.
there you go, Devlyn. You just got your pull quote for today. But let's be clear about this, Devlyn. There is a cultural issue where people fear that this is the end of their career, right? I mean, they've been doing it their way, where they just fear the change. What is that old joke? How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is 1, but it has to want to change in the first place, right? I mean, what do you say, Devlyn, when you're advising those properties?
And I hear that a lot from publishers, especially small community publishers, right? Because our work staffs have been so loyal over the years. And oftentimes the people that are handling this work are the people that have been with us the longest, 20 and 25 and 30 years. And, publishers don't want to give the impression that they're putting their staffs out to work or out to pasture, right? And that's never our sell. We never walk into a publisher and say, hey, we can reduce your headcount. What I really encourage is if that person at the front desk is no longer spending X amount of hours per week doing obits or X amount of hours per week doing milestones, what else can they be doing to achieve, more direct impact to your bottom line, right? And, my favorite response often is, so a publisher will say, well, we only spend 10 hours a week on obits. And my response is, but what else could you be spending those 10 hours on? Because I think that's really important. I'm not here to put newspaper people out of work. I'm here to make the work that they do a lot smarter. And if you have somebody that is doing this for a $50 obit, but they're having to take the information from a consumer, design the ad, bring it back to the consumer, make a change, all of that eats into the profit of what you're doing. Whereas we can just give you direct profit and handle all of that on your own so that you take that staff time and do something else with it.
Makes a lot of sense. We're only got about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to go around the table once, and then we're going to, I want to show before we're done also the case study that you're offering people if they email you. But first, Letty, final words. And congratulations on a really robust operation up there. I hope you're not too cold. You don't have a snowstorm going on, do you, Letty, right now? Are you?
Well, there's always a snowstorm coming, so it's okay. Back to what you guys were saying there about the hesitation of replacing somebody or somebody feeling threatened. Put them in charge of coming up with ideas for all these other ways to use this platform. Have them come up with your Valentine's, your pet birthdays, your anniversaries, your business announcements, because somebody's gonna have to come up with those ideas and oversee it and watch that traffic. So it's more money. That's called job security when there's more money. So, and then I'll just finish with what I started, which is what I said to Devlyn when we spoke. Why would I not do this?
There you go.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jump on.
Hey, Devlyn, did you pay her to say all this stuff? This is pretty good. Alicia, final words to our audience from someone who's in love with obits, if I can use
In love
that
with
word.
obits, yes.
Yeah.
As I said, I started with the company about 20 years ago in a few weeks, writing obituaries, and I have worked in multiple roles with the newsroom in the company, dealing with obituaries from every side and every angle. And what Modulist does makes things easier in every single one of those roles that I've had, from the newsroom reporting side, the advertising side, the page design side, the, budgeting the paper side. It just makes life easier so that we can focus on other things. And I'll have so many other things to focus on to keep going. So
now, Devlyn, you're going to be making the rounds like I am at a lot of live conferences coming up. I'll be seeing you in a few days up at the Minnesota Press Association. You and I are going to be in St. Louis. I see you everywhere I'm going, you're going. So we'll have to tag team or something. But final words to the audience before I'm going to let April close it out if that's okay. But go ahead, Devlyn.
April deserves to close it out.
Right.
My proudest moment is after a publisher has used this for a while, calling back in the words that Letty says, why wouldn't we do this? Like you, I've been in this industry 3 decades, and I'm here because Modulist exists because as altruistic as it sounds, we want to increase the longevity and the viability of community newspapers because we believe in community newspapers, and we think the foundation of community newspapers comes from this content. We want to be a partner with you now and in a year from now, saying, what else can we do for you? What else can we do for you 3 years from now? So This isn't a flash in the pan sale for us. We really want to make a partnership that lasts.
April, you've got a case study here, I see, correct? That you're willing to send people?
Yeah, this is from 2019 to 2020 fiscal year. And this is when we first onboarded all of the FCC newspapers. So it kind of talks about the trend in revenue versus submissions before and after we onboarded all the publications, as well as the efficiency side of it. You'll see Alicia in there. You'll also see quotes from our VP of newspaper operations, and we're willing to share that with you. You can also probably find it online. We've shared it with America's newspapers. And then some people have been asking within the chat about our pricing strategy. We work with each newspaper based on their community size, but if you're interested in what some newspapers have chosen already, you can go to modulist.news and create an account and just play around with placing your own milestone or obituary and just see how those pricing strategies kind of work out. Like I said before, we can work with any newspaper based on their current community size or subscription model. Yeah, and we're just excited to work with people. Me coming from, I've been in the industry now since I left college. I have been in a lot of ups and downs through the industry. So I am really excited to be a company like Modulist, which is trying to create more ways to sustain this industry and keep me in a job for the next 30 years. So,
there you go.
Yeah, that's what we're
All
here
right.
for.
So April at Modulist, MODULIST.news. Devlyn at modulist.news. By all means, modulist.news is where you're going to find more information as well, and you'll get your case study. We'll leave the chat room open for the next few minutes if you want to ask any further questions. I want to thank our entire panel of superstars for your amazing time today and for staying warm and putting up with all the bad weather up there. Come on down to Florida. I'll guys make you a little barbecue. How does that sound? Everyone have a good day. Thanks loads.
Thank you.
Bye.